Hi everyone, my name is Marco from Avio Presentation Systems, and today I'm going to take you through our May's educational webinar for Clevertouch. In this webinar, I'm going to go through all the up-to-date features with our Clevertouch interactive display. I'm going to take you through the Lynx whiteboard, through our wireless screencasting, and I'm going to show you how the screen itself works. So the first thing I want to talk about is what's called CleverLive. And as you can see currently on the screen, I have a picture of our logo showing up on the screen. Now, CleverLive is what's powering this feature on the screen itself. CleverLive essentially allows you to share any images, videos, websites, and so on up to the screen when the screen is not in use. You can put up welcome messages, wayfinding, and so on. And then once you walk into the room and you're looking to use the Clevertouch display, you can tap anywhere on the screen, and this will take you to the home screen of your Clevertouch. So it's fairly straightforward. It allows you to add in welcome messages, happy Easter messages, happy Christmas messages, and so on. Now we're here on the Android side of the screen. So keep in mind your Clevertouch interactive display has an Android side to it as well. So yes, you can use it for your wired or wireless screencasting from your own device up to the screen, but it does have an Android system built in. So I usually recommend customers to mainly try and use that Android system on the screen itself. So when we walk into the room, what we're able to do is we're able to share our device like our laptop up to the screen directly. Now to do that, we have a few different options. First option is to do it with a cable. Now at the back right side of the display and at the bottom right side of the display as well, we have a few different cable options. So I have some HDMI options like HDMI 1, 2, and 3. I also have some other options in there, like a USB option, a USB-C option, and so on. So what we're able to do is we're able to walk into the room, use a HDMI cable, plug it directly into the display, and then into our device, and it's going to allow us to start sharing our laptop up to the screen. Now you do have to keep in mind, different cable connections have different capabilities. So with our HDMI connection, you will only be able to share audio and visual from the laptop up to the screen because HDMI isn't capable of transmitting any other features from the laptop up to the screen. So what that essentially means is if you're using a HDMI cable connection, you also need a touch cable connection in there as well. Now here I have a touch cable. So a touch cable would be like our printer cable. So it has kind of a square end and it also has a USB end. So the square end would go into the display next to where our HDMI input is, and the USB end would go into our laptop. This would give us the touch between the laptop and the interactive display when we're using a HDMI cable. So what that means is when I'm sharing my laptop to the screen using a HDMI cable, I can actually use my laptop directly from the Clevertouch screen itself with touch. Now we also get another cable connection, which is our Type-C. So if you tap on the pencil icon and if you tap on the little HDMI icon, it's going to bring up this menu for you, and it's going to show you the different connections that are available there. As you can see, we just covered our HDMI. DP or our display port works the same way as HDMI. And then we also have a Type-C cable option as well. I would usually recommend going for a Type-C cable option. In my opinion, it's the best cable option and it is the future of different cable options. So Type-C will do your it will do your video, it will do your audio, it will do your touch as well. So it will transmit touch between the laptop and the screen, and it will also be able to access, for example, a camera that's attached directly to the display itself or connected directly to the display itself. So it's very useful in those kind of cases in there. So if you are going for a wired connection, I would advise going for a Type-C connection. Now, one of our other features on the display is called CleverShare. Now, I'm trying to get my laptop up, but it doesn't seem to be putting up properly. So CleverShare allows us to wirelessly screencast from our device, like our laptop or our phone, up to the Clevertouch display. Now, as you can see at the very top of the screen, we have a 6-digit code. What we can do is we can tap and view the main interface to open up our CleverShare window. Now what I'm able to do is I'm able to download the CleverShare app on any device that I have. So whether it's a Windows device, whether it's an Android or an Apple device, I'm able to download the CleverShare app onto it. Once I have the CleverShare app downloaded on my device, I have to make sure I'm connected to the same Wi-Fi as my interactive display is connected to as well. So as you can see above the 53 code, it's telling me that I'm connected to Avio Wi-Fi. So I want to make sure I'm connected to that same Wi-Fi on my own device. Afterwards, I'm going to type in the 6-digit code from the screen into my CleverShare app. And now it's going to give me two options. The first option is to screen share. Screen sharing will allow me to share my laptop up to the screen. So fairly straightforward. Now at the bottom left side, there's an option that says tap here to search things. So I actually have two-way touch between the laptop and the screen itself. So I'm able to navigate around my laptop. I'm able to leave the laptop off to the side and actually use it directly from the Clevertouch display itself. Now at the bottom left side, there's a small arrow. And if I tap on that arrow, it gives me a menu of different options. First option is a red shutdown icon that allows me to stop the screen sharing coming from the laptop to the screen. Next to that, we have a window with an arrow. This allows me to bring the CleverShare connection into a smaller window and move it around the screen. This is very useful for multitasking. If we want to have, let's say, a whiteboard app open on the screen and we also want to share a laptop up to the screen at the same time, it could be very useful for that. Now I can tap on the same icon, same arrow, and then the same icon again to full screen afterwards. I also have an option for a keyboard. This is going to allow me to bring in an on-screen keyboard onto our display here as well. Afterwards, when I'm done, I can tap on the red icon and I can stop the screen sharing. Now, the really useful thing about this is that we can share up to 30 devices now to our screen at the same time. So what that means is if we have a room of, let's say, 15 students and they have their devices and they want to share all of their devices to the screen at the same time, they're able to do so through CleverShare. All we have to do is have the CleverShare app downloaded on our device. We have to type in the 6-digit code into our CleverShare app and we're going to be able to cast up to 30 devices to our screen at the same time. Now another great feature with CleverShare is called Desktop Sync. Desktop Sync will allow me to sync the Clevertouch screen to my own device. So I'm currently syncing the Clevertouch screen to my own laptop. Now the great thing about it is I'm actually able to use the Clevertouch screen directly from my own device. So if we have students that are visually impaired, if we have students that might be possibly disabled in a wheelchair and they're unable to come up and interact with the screen, this is what the desktop sync option is the best for. Students can interact from their own device with the Clevertouch screen itself. Now there is a permission that needs to be given though for that. So I'm not sure if I'm connected anymore, but as you can see, we have our different devices. Once the device is connected, like my Surface Pro, and once we're using the desktop sync option, it will tell us that we're using the desktop sync option. There will be a finger pointer tool that we're able to allow, or where there's a tick next to or disable, that will essentially give that student access to the screen or that colleague in the room access to the screen. So that's our CleverShare, and we can use that for our wireless screencasting. I'm just going to check the chat in case there's any questions, and we're going to keep going then afterwards. No questions at the moment. Okay, so we can keep going. Now, this is kind of a newer interface that we get with our Clevertouch interactive displays. So we do have different types of interfaces, which are essentially our home screens on the Clevertouch display. This is kind of a newer one. It's called the Tiramisu. And essentially here you have a search bar, you have some apps on the home screen, and you can swipe from the middle of the screen up to bring up your choice of all the apps that you have downloaded on the screen itself. Now we do have other interfaces like the traditional blue background with 2 arrows on the side and 1 arrow at the bottom of the screen. We're still able to use that. I'm just going to start doing the webinars slowly with the newer interface now. So with the interface itself, as I said, you have your apps on the screen. You can swipe from the middle of the screen up to find all the other apps that are currently downloaded on your interactive display. Now, the first app we're going to go through is called the Links Whiteboard. So this is where you would be doing all your whiteboard work and so on. As you can see, I have my account icon there at the bottom. So we're able to sign in or sign out of our account very easily through that little icon there at the bottom. Now, to create an account, you're able to go on the Links Whiteboard website. So you can just look up linkscloud.app or just look up Links Whiteboard on your Google, and you can create a free account through there. Now, the great thing about it is that you can actually connect your Google Drive or your OneDrive directly to your Links account. What that essentially means is you can bring in any sort of files, whether it's a PDF, PowerPoint, JPEG, PNG file, and so on, from your drive directly onto the Links whiteboard. So it's very useful for that. Now on here, since it's our home screen, we have a plus icon that will allow us to open up a new whiteboard file. As you can see at the bottom left side, we have 1/1. So these are the different pages that we have on our whiteboard. So what that means is we're able to create multiple pages on the whiteboard. It's essentially like a book we're creating, for example, and we're able to have different work on those different pages as well. So as you can see here, there's an option that says add page. We can tap on that to add multiple pages on. Now at the bottom left side, there's an option that says 1/4, meaning that we're on the first page of that 4-page file. At the bottom middle, we have a few different options here then as well. So we have a finger pointer tool, and that tool is currently selected because there's a line under it. That's going to allow us to select different things on the screen, essentially like our cursor on the screen itself. Next to that, we have a little pencil icon. We can tap on one of the pencils, like our ink pen. It's going to bring up this menu that will allow us to edit the type of that pen. So as you can see, we have some horizontal lines here that will allow me to change the size of that pen. We also have a color box that will allow me to change the color of that pen as well. Afterwards, then I can start writing on the screen. I can also change the pen type by tapping on the little ink pen icon next to our horizontal lines and changing the pen type to, let's say, a laser type. This essentially brings up what I call our pencil case. Above that, we have a highlighter. The highlighter will allow me to highlight different parts on the screen itself. Under that, we have our fine tip pen. The fine tip pen is fairly similar to our ink pen. And then under that, we have some recognition tools that come with Links Pro. So recognition tools like our text recognition tool, it will recognize the text on the screen and it will turn it into a certain font. Same with our shape recognition tools. And then we also have a maths recognition tool that will recognize my equations on the screen. And it will show me an answer. Then afterwards, I can select the answer and it will reveal the answer to me then afterwards as well. Under that, we have an animated rainbow. That's constantly going to change the color of that rainbow. Under that, we have a rainbow tool that's going to change the color of the pen anytime we lift our finger or our pen off the screen. And then we have some tools like curve tools and so on as well. Now, in the very middle bottom, we have a T letter. The T letter will allow me to type on the screen using my keyboard. So as you can see, I currently have the T letter selected. I can tap on the screen depending on where I want to type on the screen. A keyboard will come up and I'm going to be able to type on the screen using my keyboard. Next to that, there's a paint pot. The paint pot will allow me to, if I select a certain color, change the color of my background or change the color of different writings on the screen and so on. Next to that, there's a plus icon. Now, the plus icon is probably the best and the biggest feature on the screen itself. Inside the plus icon, we have an option for media. This will allow me to bring in different photos, videos, GIFs from different online sources. The great part about it is that it's all save search as well. So for example, we have a Google option here. We can look up different photos from Google. Let's say we're looking at a map of Europe. So we can find different maps of Europe. We can find a picture that we like and drag and drop it then afterwards on the screen. We can resize that picture and move it around the screen. And then afterwards, we're able to take likes of our highlighter, for example, highlight different areas and write over different areas on the screen itself. Now next to our search bar there at the top left side, we have that Google icon. So if I tap on the Google icon, it will bring up this menu for me again with my different options. So maybe this time let's look up something different to bring in a GIF. So for example, let's look up a car. So here we can go on GIFs. And from here we can drag and drop GIFs of different cars on the screen. We can move that GIF around and we can resize it as well. Now we can also look up different YouTube videos, as I said. Now the YouTube videos are all going to be safe search and they're going to be cleared of ads before they're shown on the screen. So we can just drag and drop a certain video on the screen, hit play, and that will play our YouTube video for us with no ads directly on the screen itself. Now if I go back into the plus icon, so we just covered media. Next to that we have content. So content will allow me to bring in different objects and different backgrounds for different subjects. So for example, there's an option for backgrounds. I can tap on line papers and I can drag and drop a certain background on the screen. So for example, this is a line paper background. We can resize it by using this little icon in the very middle, the blue square with an arrow, and we can resize those lines as well. We can go back to our backgrounds here at the very top, and we can then use a transparent tool background to get rid of that background for us. And we also have a maths background, music background, and so on that we can work with and just drag and drop on the screen easily. In here, we also get a choice of different mind maps, like different triangle, to-do lists, strengths, weaknesses, and so on, that we can easily just drag and drop on the screen and be able to use on the screen. Then under that, if we go back to home at the top left side, we have different subjects like shown earlier. So for example, we can go on maths and we can drag and drop a ruler directly to the screen. And this is a ruler in centimeters. We can use both our fingers to move the ruler around. And we can use the blue and the red notch to measure and stamp different lines on the screen itself. We can also use an angle measuring tool to measure different angles, so we can move that around, there we go, and we can measure different angles on the screen too. So it's great for interactivity. If we want students to come up to the screen and interact with the screen, they're able to do so. Now the great thing about it as well is that most of the Clevertouch displays, depending on the model, have around on average 40 points of touch, again just dependent on the model. What that means is that you can have up to 40 fingers using the display at the same time, and it will recognize all the fingers that are on the display itself. And then we have different subjects, so you can kind of explore that in your own time with different objects that you get for different subjects in there as well. Now if I go back into our plus icon here, we also have shapes. So here we can bring in different shapes. So for example, we have a circle. We can drag our pen or our pen on the screen to create a circle. And then we can tap on the paintball and we can tap on the crop tool to split that shape into different parts as well. So I can place my finger or my pen on the screen. I can move it around in the circle to see how many sides I want to split that shape into. Afterwards, I'm able to take out those sides and I'm able to see the area by tapping on that small 90-degree angle. I'm able to see the area percentage of that part of the circle and so on. Under that, at the bottom left side, we have a page link option. That essentially allows me to link a certain page to my current page. So if I have, let's say, 8 pages and I quickly want to be able to go from page 7 to page 2, that page link option will allow me to do that instead of manually having to go back through all the pages to get to my page 2, for example. We also have a table that will allow me to bring in like a 5x5 table on the screen. And then next to that, we also have a browse option and browse files. Now this is great if we have our cloud drive connected directly to the display itself. So as you can see, I have my Google Drive here. So I can tap on it and I can bring in any sort of file into the display. So I'm just going to choose a PDF file in this instance. It's going to take a few seconds to load that PDF file up. And as you can see, that PDF file has 7 pages because it's telling me 1/7. So I'm able to just go through different pages using my arrows on that PDF file itself. Now, once I'm done using the whiteboard, there's a 3-line menu there at the bottom left side of the screen. This will essentially allow me to either share that file and save that file as well to my own device or my cloud drive. So as you can see, there's an option called share and print. Now this is going to bring all the files into a QR code. So if I tap on share, it's going to bring all the pages or only custom pages into a QR code. And then students or colleagues in the room will be able to scan that QR code and save that presentation that we've done on the Links whiteboard directly to their own device. Now, if I go back into that 3-line menu, under share and print, there's an option called save as. This will allow me to save my file onto my cloud drive or so on. So I can tap on my cloud drive. At the bottom left side, there's an empty line there, so I can tap on it to name my file, and then I can tap on save afterwards to save it to my files. Now, if I tap on the three-line menu, I can go back to my dashboard here. There's an option on the top right side that says Links Activities. This will essentially take me into a website that has different games and simulations made by Links that I'm able to use in class, like creating custom quizzes, playing different games, maths games, and so on. So it could be great to check that out as well when you do get a chance. So that was our Links whiteboard. Now we've already covered CleverLive as I mentioned it at the beginning of our video. We also have a browser here as well. So it's just a built-in browser that we have on Clevertouch. So I was looking up some YouTube videos there. Now what I might do is I might go through this little pencil icon that we have on the side of our screen and just explain to you what it does. So the pencil icon itself is kind of like a navigating tool on our screen. It allows me to navigate around the screen easier and to do different kind of quick tools and use quick tools on the screen as well. So the first option there is a little window with a little picture icon. That's what's called a picture-in-picture mode, right? So what that means is if you have a HDMI or a Type-C cable connected to the display and you're sharing your laptop up to the screen, and you want to have that screen from your laptop in a small window on the side of the screen, and you also want to use the Android side of the screen as well, picture-in-picture mode will allow you to do that. As you can see there, I have a PC module plugged in, so it's showing that at the same time while it's showing my Android side of the screen, so I'm able to then use both of them at the same time. So it's great for kind of multitasking when you're using that wired connection for screen sharing. Now under that, we have a small lock icon that's going to allow me to lock the screen if I have a password set on it. Under that, there's an arrow icon that's going to take me back out of different pages on the screen. Under that, we have a home icon that's going to take me to the home screen of my Clevertouch. Under that, I have a HDMI icon. So this is going to bring up my kind of menu with my different connections that I have on the screen. It will also allow me to adjust the brightness and the volume of the display as well. Under that, we have a whiteboard icon with a pencil. So that will take me into the default whiteboard on the screen, and it will allow me to go into the Links whiteboard or the other whiteboard, depending on which one is default on the screen itself. Under that, we have two windows together. So this is going to show me all the apps that are currently open in the background of my Clevertouch. Now, the great thing about this is that we can split screen. As you can see, there's an option there called split. So we can go into a certain page, we can tap on split and choose another app to split screen. That way we're going to have two apps open on the screen at the same time, and we're able to use them at the same time as well. Now under that, there's a magnifying glass with a plus sign. That's going to again freeze my screen, and I'm going to be able to zoom into different parts of the screen as well. Afterwards, I'm able to close and exit out of that then as well. Now the menu changed after I tapped on that, so we're going above the magnifying glass this time. There's a little pencil icon here. So again, it's going to freeze my screen, and it will allow me to write over that screen freeze. And there's a highlighter next to it as well. It will allow me to highlight different features of the screen too. So it's great for that. Then we get some different options in there as well. We can save it. We can delete anything by holding our fist towards us with our finger kind of thumb going towards us, and it will recognize the side of my fist and delete anything on the screen. I can also use this QR code option to let my students or my colleagues in the room scan that QR code and save that screenshot with those annotations to their device. And then there's a little cloud icon that allows me to bring that screenshot with those annotations to my cloud drive as well. There's also a snipping tool, which is a little scissors icon that's going to allow you to snip different parts of the screen. You're able to tap on insert or share to insert that snip into your whiteboard or to share it with the people in the room. And then lastly, we have this spanner tool. It gives me access to a stopwatch and a timer and a spotlight as well. The spotlight allows me to place a circle on the screen and resize it and move it around if we want kids to focus on a specific part of the screen. So that's the pencil icon that we'll always have on the side of our display, and it'll be always floating on the side there. Then we have a Finder. Finder will give me access to the local storage of the display, and it will also give me access to my cloud drive as well. Then we have the Clevertouch NDM app. That would be kind of for management if we have a big organization and we want our IT team to manage different screens remotely and so on. And then we have a CleverLive store, which gives us access to an app store made by Clevertouch. Now, depending on the model of the screen that you have, if it's a bit of a newer model, you would most likely have a Google Play Store, which will give you access to thousands of different apps just by signing into your Google account. If you have a bit of an older display, you would have the CleverLive store, which would essentially give you access to a few hundred different apps that you can download directly from the CleverLive store. We can tap on the CleverLive store here. You can find a certain app that you want to download, tap on that app, and then you can tap on install afterwards to install that app then after. So for example, my Lynx whiteboard earlier needed it needed an update. So from here, I'm able to check different updates for the Lynx whiteboard as well if I wish to do so. Then I can go back to my home screen. I can swipe from the middle of the screen up, and that's where I can find my different apps. Before we finish up, I want to show you some of the settings that we have on the screen, how to check your screen for any updates and so on as well. So as you can see here, we have our wireless and network options. So that's our Wi-Fi, our Bluetooth, LAN cable connection for our network and so on. We have a personal option here as well. So this gives me access to my default whiteboard. So I chose the Lynx whiteboard as my default one. It gives me access to my home application. So that would be my home screen. So as you can see, I currently have it selected to tiramisu, and I can change it to education as well if I wish to do so. We have a user option here as well. So I'm able to add multiple users onto the screen as well. Then we have some input and output settings. Here's where we can rename different inputs and outputs. We have some applications. So these are different applications that are currently downloaded on the screen. And then we have some system settings, which could be quite relevant actually to you. There's a system update option here that we're able to use to check for different updates on the screen. So you can tap and check for update, and it's going to check for any updates that are due on the screen. There's also an option here called startup and shutdown. This will essentially allow me to add a boot task and add an off task, which means that the boot task will allow my screen to turn on at whatever day and time I want it to turn on. So it can be Monday to Friday, let's say 8:30 in the morning. And then there's an off task as well, which will allow me to turn off the screen at a certain time. So again, it can be 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday too. That way our screen will automatically turn on and off. So it could be very useful for, energy saving as well. If we forget to turn the screen on, if we forget to turn the screen off, it won't stay on the whole night. It will actually turn off at 5:30, okay? So that's the different options that we have in there. Now, thanks very much for joining this month's webinar. This is the last webinar until September because schools are off there over summer for June, July, and August. So it is the last webinar for the summer, but we'll see you guys back again in September. It's the first Tuesday of September and the second Wednesday of September. The Tuesday is at 2:45 and the Wednesday will be at 3:45. If you have any questions, send us an email on sales@avio.ie or give us a call on 01813 5588. Thanks very much for joining the webinar, and we hope you have a good summer. Thank you.